Everybody. Welcome to Thursday Ops Experts Club. Ops, of course, is short for operations.
Oh,
Yeah. I know you've been wondering, Ben, for a while.
I just didn't want to ask.
It's one of those things you let it go too long and you feel like you should know. Well, today we have with us Laurel, and we'll be asking you your intro question here in a minute. So I'm not going to tell everybody all about you. You're going to do the pleasure of doing that for us. Ben, thanks for joining us again. Pretty excited to have Laurel on the call. Got to meet her once in person, which was awesome after hearing about her so much. Ben, I know you work with her a bit virtually.
Yep, we have not met in person.
No, not in person.
I have not worked with her virtually.
Taryn, I feel like you're unusually tall, taller than I expected when I met you in person.
People say that all the time, so I've set up my computer specifically so it looks up, so I look tall. See how close to the ceiling I am? I think I can touch it.
Just so people aren't surprised when they meet you in person.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Laurel, glad to have you on today. Let's go ahead and hear from you. We just want to know a little bit about you. What's your main role, who you work for these days, and maybe a little bit of background on how you got to working there these days.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Laurel. I work with Advance Your Reach, Eternal Ventures. I am Pete Vargas's executive assistant. And it's wild how I got to this role. So my background, originally, I've done a lot of operational roles in administration and working in a nonprofit organization that focused on like secondary education and was their registration person for years and years. And stepped out of that line of work as far as nonprofit organization, humanitarian work, and was just looking for a job. You know, I think sometimes when you adjust your working trajectory, you just like want something. You're like, okay, I had boxes. I want to work from home. I want flexibility in my schedule. I want a certain pay, like all these different things. And I had a friend who worked for Advance Your Reach who spoke super highly of it, was like, it's virtual, you can work from home. I have 4 kids, so important for me to be home with them, and applied for a position and was told, actually, we don't think that you're a great fit for that. Maybe we'll think that you should like go and apply for this other position. So I interviewed for a second position and they were like, actually, that's not a great fit for you. I was like, okay, well, what's going on? And in that call, they said, but our CEO, Pete Vargas, has a mastermind that is faith-based. He's pioneering this new venture within his company, and we think you'd be a great fit as the concierge for that venture. Are you interested? I was like, yeah, I'm interested. Yes. So started working with Pete's mastermind, which is how I met Aaron. Aaron is also involved in the mastermind, and worked with that primarily for about 3 months, not very long. But with that, really got to work closely with Pete since it was a project that was so close to his passion. And his EA at the time was getting ready to step out, and they approached me. I got a call. Hey, well, can we chat? I was like, oh crud, what happened? What did I do?
What did I do wrong?
What did I screw up?
Oh no.
Actually, I was wondering if you would be interested in stepping in as my executive assistant. And at the time, I was like, I've never really worked in that capacity before, supporting somebody directly on a C-suite level. But really was willing to give it a try. I love the company. I love Pete's heart. I love Kim, his wife. Like, they're just an amazing family. So I've been in this position now as his executive assistant for about 9 months. So
Cool.
here we go.
Has it been that long already? Holy cow.
Yeah, wild, huh?
Man, the time flies.
Yeah. Does that mean you've been with the company for about a year?
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
Cool.
it'll be just a year. So yeah.
I with the EAs we talk to, I know you really have to be a badass to be if you're a good EA, you are badass. And judging by knowing Pete and how fast he runs and that you've
I
been
was
with him
gonna
for
say.
9 months, I can assume that means you're pretty awesome at your job.
Yeah. I mean, I hope I am. It is very fast paced. Definitely I travel with him periodically. And so we were just in Miami at an event last week. Next week we'll be in Vegas. The beginning of January we were in Phoenix, and just about every few weeks we're jumping from one big event to the other. And a lot of my role is just making sure that Pete has what he needs to be successful in the next venture. So even though he may not be thinking about the event that's happening in June yet, I am. I'm thinking logistically. I'm thinking, what are his travel arrangements? What does he need for his slide deck? How am I communicating that with our team, our greater team, with the collaboration from our, our marketing agency, all of those things to ensure that whatever is on his brain is being communicated to everyone else. So, but it's amazing. I've been in rooms now with people where I like turn around and I'm like, wow, how did I get here? So it's really fun. And there's been some things that have happened that have been like, I'm like, oh man, I screwed that up. When I first had started, logistically, I was getting used to all of Pete's travel arrangements and how he specifically wanted every detail for his travel. And he was in Michigan and I needed to get him to Milwaukee, and we had gotten him a ferry. I was just training, getting all of the information together, got him on this ferry. So he was going from wherever he was at to the Milwaukee mainland, and then he needed to take a flight and all these things, and then book him a hotel, all of these things. It's like midnight. I get a call. Laurel, where am I going? Oh no. I got him all the way to Milwaukee, but forgot to let him know like where his hotel was. So he's like stranded.
I'm stranded in
I'm
Milwaukee.
like, oh, wonderful. This is classic, So I'm like, this is your airport. This is your hotel. This is your confirmation number.
What a place to be stranded in Milwaukee.
It was like late at night, cold. I'm like, sorry.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I was gonna say, so like working with him like that, you probably touch just about every part of his business, communication wise, with all the events, I'm sure you're talking to finance, you're talking to marketing, you're talking to like every piece. Like, is that overwhelming at all at some point where you're like, I have so many people I'm talking to all the time?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. It takes huge organizational management. We use Monday, and I have like multiple boards going on Pete's different type of communication of meetings that he wants scheduled, secondary meetings that he wants scheduled, podcasts that he's been invited to, internal communication with our team for different events coming up. And that's really, I know in the past, I've really used my inbox as a management for different type of folders and things. And I still keep lots of emails in there, but as far as task management, moving it to a secondary software has really changed the way that I'm able to manage his communication, his events, anything like that that's going on, because I can be much more detailed than what I can be in an email box. And you guys know this probably, but then you can link things into there, which is like a simple click here. It's bringing us back to the whole conversation that's been happening. And then I can move really quickly to meet his needs for any type of communication. But yeah, I mean, it spans not only just within his business, but personally as well. So I do hold a bit of a role as like a personal assistant as well, where I take care of a lot of things for their family, with scheduling and more of just making sure that anything that's aligned for their family, is one of their high values, is protecting their family time. So making sure that there's no conflicts with their talking with his wife to ensure that he's not missing, school performances and meetings and things like that. So high trust, I think that that's been the beauty of what has been so powerful of me being PTA, is we really connected in those first few months as me being the concierge in Wellspring. And there was super high trust built there. There's a character level between their family and me and who I am that has just really aligned and meshed. I don't ever have to worry about like, do I think my executive is doing something shady? Do I feel like I'm not in alignment with what the company is about? I never feel like that. And it has been a huge sense of trust, because I can just run, I don't have to question my own integrity, Pete's integrity, anything like that. It's like, we're just running and running fast. And my job is to clear the way. What do I have to do to make it so that Pete can execute what he needs most efficiently in all circumstances? So,
and not get stranded in Milwaukee.
Yeah, and not get stranded. Hopefully, I don't ever do that again. It could happen though. There's a lot.
Yeah, what I love about the EA role is when you're looking at the org chart, you got like the CEO on top, and then it just kind of like pyramids down from there. Like the EA role is a little offshoot directly from the CEO. You're one of the few people who have direct through line to him as part of your job. But it's also like, if you value that proximity, then it's also a really good thing for you personally. If you're getting to share all that time with them, I mean, being around successful people breeds success. So like getting to have that proximity with Pete all the time, has that been kind of a powerful influence in you?
Yeah, definitely. It's really, I've had to reshape the way that I think about business and finances and being in certain rooms. I came from a very conservative background that was almost like, the root of all evil is money. The root of all evil is success. So how do you rectify that in your brain when that's what you're taught, for 30 plus years? We won't talk about how old I really am, but but it's been really powerful to see that lived out in such and Aaron too, you guys working with Aaron, it is such a humility that they bring to the table, that it's not about clout or ego or those type of things. And we've all been in rooms where it is about that, right? We've all been in rooms where like, oh, that's your motive. That's your motive of what you wanted to gain. But in the rooms that I've been in, it's really been led by how can we elevate each other to be able to make all of our businesses more successful. And that was really surprising to me. You hear it like, Shark Tank or all these things that it's like, it's cutthroat. They're throwing people out the ship, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's not really it. It's like, hey, we all have these ideas. We all have this way. How can we collaborate? Pete is the master of stages. Whose stages can we elevate to make other people's stories get out there? How can we do that? And in that, there's been opportunity even for me personally, where I'm like, wow, like I've met really amazing people and been able to share wisdom that I'm often on the side where I'm like, when it's like ops expert, I'm like, expert? I'm not an expert. I show up every day and I do my best. Like, that's what I do. Like, that is 100% what I do. But it's really been able to show me that like I had a lot more potential than I thought I had, which is one of the things of like that symbiotic relationship with somebody that you're supporting. Before, I had been under a lot of leadership that was very controlling, who had their own agenda for my success, and in that oftentimes stifled what I could have gained, in the sense of business, in the sense of my career. So to be in a new position where, I'm rub shoulders so quickly so closely with other C-level executives, it's been really eye-opening to know like, wow, there's a lot of opportunity out there and growth opportunities, even when you're at the C-suite EA level, so.
I think one of the cool things I heard Pete say too, it's some of the few times I've heard him talk, is like they're being successful, not just to be successful, but so you can make more, so you can give more away. And I was like, that's a really cool, you don't hear that from a lot of CEOs of big companies who say, I want to make more money so I have the ability to give more money away. I was like, wow, this says a lot about what, like you said, what your motive is, what their goal is. If your goal is like, I want to make more so I can give more away, I thought that was pretty cool. It says a lot about who he is as a CEO.
Yeah, it's amazing. In our mastermind, the Wellspring group, it is high earning elite business owners who are all coming together with a like-mindedness because they follow Christ. And it has been insane to see them come in a room with people. We had at our summer gathering last year, we had Tim Tebow come and share about his work that he does to fight human trafficking. And in 5 minutes, we were able to generate $1.7 million given to fight human trafficking. And it's
Crazy.
just this idea for me, coming from a nonprofit background, it's like, wow, like what a collision of like my passion and my heart and then my job, and how this has meshed together to see that there's a lot of ways that the business world and the marketplace can be influencing the rest of the spheres of society, in education, in government, and all of these things. And we've seen it, like I've seen it firsthand now. I'm like, wow, like the marketplace it touches every single other aspect of our lives. Mm-hmm. So how does that, like, to use that for good has been so powerful. It's been so wonderful to be able to be a part of.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Laurel, another question for you. You give us your best story so far, something you've learned or taught. Maybe you touched on it briefly already, but.
Oh, I've had, I've had times where like we're randomly on stages where we're, hosting 200, 300 people, and I'm taking care of Pete, making sure where he's at. And we were at one event just a few months ago, and one of the main speakers, who's like a well-known, like high profile woman, it's like, hey, do you have your makeup with you? And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I really need your makeup. Can you just give me your makeup? So I'm like, hand over my makeup bag. And she's like using my makeup. I'm like, oh my gosh, my makeup is on her face, like on stage. Like, this is insane. So
wow,
that was definitely a fun story, because you just never know. You never know what's gonna be asked of you. So
really kind of brings everybody back down to the same human level.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And that was one of the things that I've really loved about my job. And one of the things that has actually been a challenge is really that boundary between my personal life and my work and my family and all of that, because it is so high demand, right? Like I don't necessarily work 9 to 5. I just don't. That's just not in the wheelhouse of what is my job description. Mm-hmm. So really working on like, what is that that give and take of that. And one of the interesting things that happened recently about humanizing everyone is Pete met my family. And it was really interesting of a little bit of a shift, I felt like, of like, wow, like you're a mom, you're a wife, you're running your kids to baseball, you're doing all of these things. And it just, especially because we work virtually together a lot of the time, it's really easy to forget that there's a human on the other end of that line, right? Both ways, both ways. And so to really remember that, you know, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm trying to keep my house clean and my dogs are going crazy and all of these things, right? Ben knows my dogs. My kids are wild. It's a busy house. So, but that whole thing of like we're all human. We all, when it comes down to the end of the day, we just need makeup to get on stage. Like that's what we need. So just share your makeup and keep going.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that. That's one of my favorite things about L10 meetings. I don't know if you do those in Wellspring, but when you just start out with like your personal best and your business best, it just reminds everybody that we all have lives. Like 40 hours a week is only a third of the week, like, or less than a third. We all have lives outside of that. Like, let's just spend a minute to share, remind us all we're all humans. Yeah. We're all doing other things, and then let's go for business.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I don't think I ever actually thought about it until you mentioned that, Laurel. Like you do get in this zone of like, we're all just talking heads on a computer, and you forget like, because this too is, working in the virtual space is new for me. Like my background's brick and mortar for years and years and years. And like, you see your managerial staff, you see your employees, you talk to them, you shake their hands. I guess I never really realized too, that like in this space now, I start thinking of people as like, not people. You're like, just, faces on my computer screen. And when I turn my computer off, you disappear. Like I forget, like, oh yeah, you guys are actually people that exist in a real world too. It's hard
Not
to
AI.
Yeah, it's hard to make that distinction unless you actually actively think like, okay, these people have lives. I shouldn't just encroach on them 24/7. It's very interesting. Never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things that's been really helpful that Pete and I have implemented is that he uses Voxer as his main form of communication. It's just really simple for him to drop voice messages to me. And I put my phone on do not disturb in the evenings, and if we have things that are coming up or we have events going, of course I'm watching and I'm paying attention. But like if it's urgent and you need me, then you need to text me. Like if not, like I can't just be at all hours of the day on. So that part has really helped, that we've really communicated that of like, this is what this looks like. you can still Vox, you can still drop everything that's on your mind, because I get like, he's so high visionary, like he has to get it out. He has to tell me right away, do this. I need this done. I'm thinking about this. Can we be thinking about that? Like, I get that. But and I'm the complete opposite, I like want instant action. I want to make sure that my inbox is cleared and all of my notifications are not at 15, and some are like at some people's phones who are like at 300. I'm like, how do you do that? It would stress me out. But it's really been something that I've had to learn is like, it's okay. If it's urgent, if there's something that needs to be dealt with, then I'll receive a text message. If not, then I can deal with it in the morning. And that's just really, there's always more work to do, right? Like always. So, and that's a good thing. That's a very good problem to have. So
I think that's a great relationship to have too. If you can foster that with a CEO and say, hey, these are our boundaries. And especially, it sounds like Pete, he's a great guy. He's going to respect those boundaries, but that's, a lot of people have a hard time saying like, look, hey, like, especially us ops people, I think we talk about it all the time. Like, we're just like, yeah, I'll do anything all the time, whenever you want it, because, my camera's following me around. Wow, that's weird. because we're like, we want to get it done. Like that's our brain. Our brain says there's a project needs completed. I'll complete it now, no matter what. But if you can find a visionary who's like, hey, I'll respect your boundaries if you respect mine. I think that's huge. It says a lot about who he is.
Mhm. Yeah. I remember the days when I'd get the Pete Voxer messages. They're quite wordy. They're precise, which is nice. They're long and wordy, and just being able to transcribe those is very helpful.
We call it a Vox storm when they get going. We're like, okay, the Vox storm is going.
But it's nice. He knows what he wants, and it's clear, it's precise, which is the most helpful part.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Laurel, I got a little last question here for you. What's been your biggest hurdle so far? Maybe in this new position that you've never done before?
Yeah, I think just the learning curve of I haven't really been in this type of working space before, with even I didn't even know who Pete was when I took on the job. I wasn't in the public speaking world. I wasn't really versed in business and things like that. So learning who people are, learning the different systems that are within the company. We have, not a huge company, but a pretty large company. So there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people, and it's those type of things has like now 9 months in, I finally feel like I have my feet under me. I finally feel like it's like when I'm asked to do something, I can execute it without having to ask. Actually, I did though have to ask something even today. I was like, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. So, but those, you just don't know what you don't know. And those type of things has been some of the biggest challenges. But my philosophy is ask, be kind, Google, there's so much resources and information out there that it's really easy to execute what you're asked to do without bothering your C-suite executive, So that has been one of my biggest things. It's like I can find out almost everything that I need just by doing a little bit of research. So but it's been intimidating, to figure that out and to not know for a while and be like, okay, who is that person? Why are they emailing? What's the context? I have no clue. But
how is that line like? How is it trying to figure out that line of like, do I bother by asking questions? Do I not bother? Like, was that hard to figure out? Like, okay, how many questions can I ask Pete before he's like, okay, why don't you know this yet? Sort of thing. Was that a hard line to figure out?
Yeah, I think that for us, I have other support within our company, which has been really helpful. Our COO, Jess, you guys have had her on before. She's amazing. She's been a great resource to always allowing me to say, hey, this person is asking about this. What do you think I should do? Like, how do you think that I should handle this? So I've had other support, not just direct to Pete, but our other directors within the company who are always willing to field my questions before it has to be elevated to Pete, So, and then there are times when it's like, it's just a Pete question. And we have a system as well that at the end of the day, I give him an end of the day report through Vox because it's Pete's preferred form of communication, which it's because he can listen to it then and doesn't have to sit down and be reading and have to look through it. So I can just shoot off all of my questions at the end of the day and he'll know like, okay, those are the things that are top priority that I need him to respond to by the next morning. So it's a good system that we have in place, and it really allows me to have till the end of the day to figure something out before I need to bother him as well. So
That's
great. What I love about all the people we bring on here is they're all doing something they've never done before, where we've become experts in this area that probably 1 or 2 years ago we didn't even think we'd be in. Like you didn't even know you'd be an EA to Eternal Ventures CEO maybe a year ago. But look at you now, you've done it. You're doing things probably still every day you've never done before. And it's just it's just great to see how well we are able to adapt to these, new situations we're thrown into, especially when we're working with a good company and a good support around us and amazing online tools, everything you want at your keyboard fingertips. Is just incredible.
It is right.
It is. It's so wonderful.
Mhm. Well, Laurel, it's been fun chatting with you. It was really cool to hear about your work and hear more about Pete. Probably the second client I worked with was Advance Your Reach, so just love hearing all the things about them and how well they're doing there. So really thankful for you to join us today.
And come to a live event again so we can all humanize each other. Oh.
Yeah. I try to squeeze in there, but it's an invite only thing. So
we haven't been able to poach you quite yet. Oh.
Yeah. He'll keep trying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. It's been a wonderful time. Laurel from Advance Your Reach, Pete Vargas, Executive Assistant. So wonderful to have you on. Ben, great to see you again. I'm glad your camera is following your face. That was interesting to see. We'll see you all next week. Another Ops Experts Club.
See you guys.
Bye.